All right, well, welcome everybody to MVP Office Hours. This is Jared Kingston with Aperio, your host for today. If you're new to the Office Hours, just to give you a quick rundown of how things go with the Office Hours. It's an open forum, so we have the web meeting where you can chat, you can raise your hand, but you can also speak up. So if there's some dead silence, we'll ask for people to ask a question if they haven't. So feel free to speak up then, or like I said, you can raise your hand or post in the chat, and we'll get to you then as well. The only thing we ask is that because it's an open forum, is that if you can mute your line if you're not speaking. That way it's easy to hear everybody's questions over the line and the conversation as well. So with that being said, we have some awesome MVPs on the line. If you guys could go ahead and just raise your hand in the meeting so that I can make sure I don't miss anybody. I know there's, with the new class of MVPs, I'm still trying to memorize the names here. So I'll pick out the ones that I can see off the top of my head, and if I miss anybody, please feel free to speak up. So first one I see there is Mark Ross. Mark, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us your areas of expertise?
My name is Mark Ross. I work for Cox Automotive as a solutions architect, and my expertise is flow and all other things automation that are button-click accessible.
Awesome. Thank you. And then we got Shiv on the line. Shiv, do you want to introduce yourself? Your area expertise? Well, I see you out there, Shiv, but maybe you're on mute.
Hey, Dr. This is Shiv. We just joined in the audio call.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you want to give the audience your area of expertise?
Sure. So I'm a Salesforce.com MVP and a Force.com MVP. I concentrate more on development on the Apex side, but also I'm familiar with the configuration side of it, like with workflows and flows right now. But mostly I do a lot of development and best practices around development.
Awesome. Thanks for that. All right. Well, I have a little special thing that I want to share before we get started today. And I'm going to just bring this image up if you're looking at the web meeting here. So I bring this up here. There's a cool thing going on with one of the members in the community, Kristen, and I don't want to mess up her last name, so I'm just not going to say it. You can see it there on the image in the web meeting. But cool thing, just helping her get to Dreamforce given the situation she had to endure. So I just want to point out that I think this is really awesome to see that how much has been raised to help her finish out expenses on getting there within 5 days. $1,100 in 5 days by 18 people. It's pretty awesome, and that's just the power of the community right there. So pretty cool. You can go out to GoFundMe, and I know the MVPs have tweeted and retweeted it. So if you feel led to, definitely go out and donate to that. So, and then for the rest of you going there, we'll definitely look forward to seeing Kristen there as well as you there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and kick off the office hours. And before we do, we have a arrival by Deepa Patel. Deepa, welcome. Maybe. All right, we'll let you. We'll just say Deepa is a jack of all trades when it comes to config and reports and strategy. So, all right. So let's kick it off. Who wants to be the first person to give us a question? Again, raise your hand. Speak in the chat. Speak up.
Ooh, there's some dead air there. I'll go.
sorry.
Hey, hi. This is Vishnu. I had a question around around source control.
Okay.
Essentially, we have our product. We have been trying to get source control enabled for Salesforce installation. And one of the challenges that we are seeing right now is in driving the adoption process for Salesforce for source control. So, just wanted to understand from a market perspective and from an implementation perspective how a typical user from Salesforce, from Force.com, should actually go. I'm to say there are a lot of technologies around, but again, it's all spread out. But more and more, what we're seeing is people or installations or clients are moving towards or gravitating towards Git, which is kind of getting to be the de facto maybe down the line. But just wanted to get a feel of any of the client or customer interactions that you might have from a source control perspective, and any best practices if possible.
In the MVPs on the line have any source
control? Deepa, go ahead, please. I'll pick that up.
No, I was trying to understand the question better because I don't know. Source control, is that what you're saying? Source control?
Version controlling or source controlling, yes.
Oh, version controlling. Okay. And you're talking about when you go through the development process.
Right.
Okay. And is this with Apex and Visualforce development or the Salesforce configuration?
Both.
Okay. I don't know how to address the portion for the developer, like the Apex or Visualforce. I know we've got lots of good guys here who can help you with that. As far as like version control from the configuration side, one of the things we do is we create a centralized document that is controlled via color coding and dates that says here's what has been requested and here's what's changed and when was it changed. And the other thing we do is, and that's for the admin side, as far as a change request coming in, we use the Salesforce case record. We set that up to say, okay, here's someone, I requested this is what I need, and it goes through an approval process by the admin, the system admin, along with the key stakeholders saying, yes, this is approved, no, this is not approved, after a thorough review has been done with change for the impact of change. And one of the products we recommend for looking at the impact of change or what it's even going to be is Panaya Change Guru. But it's a combination of multiple things and multiple tools on first starting with the request with a case record, then evaluating the impact of change with Panaya Change Guru, and then actually when you make those changes, having a centralized location for that document, whether it's a file that's on SharePoint, whether it's Dropbox or anything, and you document every time that change was made and when it was completed. That's the way we do it. Somebody else might have other ideas.
Yeah, thanks, Deepa, for that. I just want to add 2 cents to the mix here. This is Shiv. Couple of ways that we used to do source control is, as you said, Git is really a popular one. So what we used to do is a mix of Git plus Jenkins, which automates the deployment process. So it's mandatory that I'm just going to explain one of the business use cases that we have, how we follow the process. It's mandatory that the developer develops the code in his own sandbox, and then he submits a pull request to the master branch, right? And from there, what we do is we have an automation process with Jenkins that's pretty easy to implement. You can look up Jeff Douglas' blog. It will automatically get deployed to the staging, and where once in the staging, all the QA guys come into the picture. They do the QA, and once it's QA'd and once the product manager approves, we deploy it using ChangeSet, right? So Panaya is also a really good tool to understand the impact of your changes. And I would say basically it depends on how you want to take your business process into it. But Git, for version control, Git or SVN is a really good shot. But yeah, does that help?
Maybe just a follow-up question, just to kind of give you a little bit more color to what I was, maybe a little bit more background. So we have a product that specifically addresses continuous integration or continuous delivery for Salesforce or Force.com platform as such. And so it's source control plus Jenkins, Jenkins Hudson or any of those tools plus automation. And that's where I think we are seeing, essentially what we're trying to address is once a Salesforce developer checks in his code, then from there we need to kind of automate the build process, the version controlling process, and then testing process and the deployment process. So we have got clients, but one of the key, so where I was coming to the front part or the first part, which is the version controlling part. So maybe that's what I wanted to hear a little bit more about from a best practices perspective or what clients are doing, and more around that. And one question that I had, you said Panaya, is it a Change Guru? These are two different products, or is it a single product?
No, it's a single product. Deepa is a really good expert on that. She can chime in on Panaya also, right, Deepa?
How is it?
Yeah, well, Panaya Change Guru is it's a single product, and what they do is they go field by field and look at where is that field referenced all throughout Salesforce, including Apex, Visualforce, and even now the users profiles roles. Like they evaluate all of it, and they give you a report that says, here's the severity of the change that you're trying to make, and these are all the things that are going to be affected by it. So it's not like you don't want to make the change. It's like, think about what you're changing because it's embedded in all these different places. It's a great tool. It reduces your research time into literally seconds.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure. So you had did you complete your question or?
Yeah, I think I got a sense of it. Thank you very much. And essentially,
it just boils down to what kind of source you want to, if you already have the SVN going in for all your other products, you can go in with SVN. But when it comes to automation, you can definitely go for Jenkins, which is really, it's open source and you can, play with it. It's easier. There's a lot of documentation available. To build a Jenkins automation process, it's really straightforward, unless you want to have complications to automate the entire process. That will take some time, but it is doable. And coming to test automations, even it's also some hard work has to be put in because it's not really easy to automate the test part of it. But Selenium Scripts also does a lot of good job if you just need to go ahead and automate a couple of use cases.
Sure. So essentially, our product AutoRabbit, we actually take care of all these things. We have source control, plus we are essentially a competitor for Jenkins, and finally test-based automation and deployment. So thanks a lot. So I think I got the thing. But again, one of the key things where we see from a Jenkins standpoint, or maybe Travis is something that some of the Salesforce implementations are using. So it's pretty cumbersome from most of the clients who have moved to AutoRabbit from Jenkins or other open source code, because two things that are happening. One is the implementation timeline is pretty long, plus the complexity involved in terms of the ongoing maintenance that is required and integration with, say, maybe a Jira, and the integration with Jira which comes out of the box, for example. But any kind of custom tools that you have, or even, for example, the new tools that we have been talking about, that has been a real problem for them. And only a mature company who has maybe a Salesforce MVP or something like that, some of them have been able to use open source. But what we have seen is a lot of clients actually have been Most of our clients, they have used Jenkins in the past, or a Travis or a Hudson, but they have moved on to us because of the entire gamut of service that we provide. And my question was basically on the source control, because that's a challenge that we want to understand the market a bit more in terms of how users are moving towards or gravitating towards from a source, the version controlling standpoint.
Yeah, I think GitHub is your go-to choice. I think you should probably support GitHub because most of the yeah, that's a good choice.
Sure.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, we have a question from David on Opportunity Products. So, David, you want to go ahead and state your question?
Certainly. Hey, thanks for having this great venue here. So I've been struggling with, we use Opportunity Products in 3 different sales teams here. So it's used quite differently for each team. And I've been struggling with, there's one team in particular that I set up some workflow that incorporates another value to the sales price, which is a setup fee. So it's an additional fee to what the sales price would be, which is revenue, or the sales price in this case is monthly fees. So what I did was I established workflow and set it up where the sales price would add the setup fee and then roll it up into the amount in the regular opportunity object. The problem I'm having is that when somebody puts in or populates that field of the monthly fees or the sales price, workflow kicks in, everything works fine, and it rolls up. But what happens is that sales price field tallies everything before it rolls it up. So if someone goes back in to edit, from a user perspective, all of a sudden the revenues or the monthly fees showing it, $10,000 instead of $400 because it's adding 2 values together. Is there a way around this? And hopefully I explained this correctly.
Any of the MVPs want to take a shot at that?
I'm trying to figure it out in my head. The thing is, this is not a simple thing, right? Because the way the product works is you're updating the sales price when don't you, so let me ask you this, would you not need to see the setup fee as a separate number? Is that your problem? You want to see it as a separate number?
Here's the reason why this is being asked of is because of the way that quotas and forecasting works. They want those values combined. Right now, the sales price only rolls up into the amount field, and the setup fees are a big chunk of a seller's quota, and that's not being included. So that's why they want it to be added in before it gets rolled up, because of course the amount field, actually the revenue field, is now what's being, when we went to products, that's what's being utilized under quotas. So that was the reason for why this was being asked.
Is this something
I need to think about this.
It seems like having a separate product for the setup fee would be preferable for that.
Yeah.
That would still allow you to roll up everything into your forecasting.
Yep.
And it would split it out.
So simple, and yet I didn't even consider it.
That was what was going through my head. I'm like, why are you doing that? Why not just set up a separate product line item for setup fees, because it still rolls up into amount and it still goes into your forecast.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, and I'll offer that historically I've seen setups like that, not to use the same word, but inevitably someone will need to run sort of deal or promotional that you'll have to split it out after the fact, and then you're going to be kicking yourself for not doing it ahead of time.
Right.
So having it preset ahead of time, you can then adjust each half of that product combination when needed without really impacting the history.
Correct. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. No, that I think that's going to have to be the direction to make this work. All right. Hey,
it's the simplest. It's the simplest.
Yeah, no, that makes so sense. I went the hard route. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Looks like Laura, you have your hand raised with a question. Go ahead.
Hi. Sorry, I was going to type it in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. How can I get a history report for a custom object?
What type of history? Like field history?
Yes, please.
When you, is this a custom object that you created, or is this something you inherited from previous?
Yeah, we created it.
Okay.
It's a child to the account. And we created a custom report type for it, but I couldn't see in there how necessarily to bring in history information. I'm actually in the middle of doing this, and so I may have missed something, but I thought since you guys are here, I'd ask.
When you created the custom object, did you have the checkbox to track history?
Yes, we've had that for a couple of years.
Okay.
There is
And
history data. When I look at the object, I have the related list with information in it.
When you go to your reports and you're looking at your report types that you can create, like you click New Report and it allows you to do that, is there a report type, like if you're doing account, is there one that says account history? Or whatever custom, I guess if you're custom object. So your custom object name.
Oh yes,
history.
I have account. Yeah,
Okay.
I have account and opportunity. It appears that history is available as a standard. Well, no, here's another custom object we created, and there's a history option. So
Yeah, if you've had
that was
that
created a long
turned
time ago
on
by
the
someone
object,
else.
yeah, the report type should be there.
Okay, it's not. So.
Okay, so double check the object. Double check and make sure that you actually have some fields tracked on the object.
No, they are. As I said, I'm looking at it right now, and it shows down in the related list. And we did double check the object setup, and there are fields checked.
Well, you wouldn't see the history in the related object, but if you open one of the records, you see the history? Like the related list
I'm
would
sorry,
show
in
history,
the related
right?
list on the object. Correct.
Okay, so that is
In the-
there. All right,
in the-
so that is working.
Yep. Yep.
If you're not seeing in the report types list custom object history, maybe it's hidden. They did turn that on. Maybe an admin in the
But
system.
this has existed. I'm the admin, and it has existed.
Yeah.
That hide types has existed. Started long after this object existed, and I've never hidden anything because I just don't.
So if it's not hidden, and you've got the turned on the object, it should be there. I think you might have to log a ticket with Salesforce because this might be a bug. There's no additional settings.
Okay.
There's no additional controls beyond that.
Quick question: Can you write reports against this object as currently, right? You have the enable reports turned on.
I can now because I just created a custom report type, so now I can.
Huh. It should have created.
So
one
so we
should
went
have
to
created
migrated to. Well, but we migrated to Salesforce in November of 2011, and this object was created at that time. And so I don't know if back then creating objects automatically created reports. I know they do now, like we did a snapshot recently, and it created a report base for the snapshot object. But I don't know if it did way back when. So this object's been around for a number of years.
I'm fairly certain it did. As long as if you turn on track reporting when you create the object, then that will, or enable reports, I should say, then that will. That's what creates those report types. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll file a
exactly.
case with them.
Yeah, because as long as you have
Okay,
enable
great.
reports on and track field history, it should bring it in
Okay.
just fine.
All right.
Yeah, you should probably also find another report type called, if it's merchandise, you would find some report type called merchandise history. So you'd probably get that from there as well. So check that out too. But yeah, it should be there if you already enabled track history for that object.
Yeah, it's been enabled for 3 years, so And in some other objects, and I don't know if they're custom report types, I'd have to dig a little deeper. There is one where I think it must be a custom report type. It's case history and then this object, but there's not one just for this object. So okay, we're Premier, so I can do a chat with support, and that's usually pretty fast. So thank you.
No problem.
All right. Looks like, let's see, Trevor has his hand raised, and then we have two in the chat. So go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, just on that previous question, what I would just quickly look at is when you're creating the report, sometimes there's not a preview of all the report types that are available. Sometimes you have to click on, there's a button that says More, and then you might find those additional report with the history changes. But my question is around workflow rules, and we've got an org that has relatively few opportunities, but extremely high value opportunities, and those opportunities have about an 8-step qualification process, and then another couple of steps along the way of negotiating before the deal is closed. And there's been a request to receive a multitude of notifications for a few people within the organization. And my first reaction was, well, hold on a second, let's just do a workflow rule to notify you that an opportunity has been opened, and then simply follow the opportunity in chatter. But the people literally want to know almost everything that happens and everything that changes. And the reason, again, is because there's such high-value opportunities. Would the best way to do it be through chatter, or to set up a multitude of workflow rules that send through the notifications about field changes and updates and so on?
I think chatter is probably a good solution here. I'm not the type of person who is going to default automatically suggest chatter, but it sounds like the use case in this particular instance is exactly what chatter is designed for. What are the other things you think?
So chatter would give you every single change. I mean, if you're following an opportunity.
Well, there are limitations.
I mean, you can set. I know that you can set the notifications, but what would the limitations be?
The limitations is you can only select up to 20 fields per object that can be tracked in chatter feed tracking.
Right. Okay. So
you need more than 20 points of communication. That's
no. There's not more than 20. But because each opportunity can be as much as $80,000 or $100,000. I mean, these are huge opportunities. So they want to they want to know what's happening all along the process.
What this won't necessarily give is any updates to any sub objects. It won't show updates to opportunity line items. It will say the amount changed. You could check that. If you have custom objects, if you have quotes, those aren't going to necessarily do unless you track those as well. But I would encourage them to use chatter for any and all commenting, rather than having like a separate comment or next step, things like that. That would help keep track of it, and that will automatically go to whoever's following. Your major pitfall is going to be making sure that they do follow the op, because that is not something that can be easily automated. You can do it with flow and flow triggers, but that's a pretty high-level case. Still possible.
Yeah. You also have an app called Cloud Swarm. That also lets you. Yeah, Cloud Swarm is really good. It also lets you automate what type of opportunities, leads, cases, and all that kind of stuff that you want to follow with certain people. So you can look at that too. It's free, and you should probably try it in your Dev Sandbox before you put it into your production. I would suggest that too.
Thanks.
And Flow is also pretty. Yeah, Flow is
CloudSwarm.
also pretty good. Sorry.
Which other app is good? CloudSwarm I have heard of.
Yeah, the CloudSwarm is good, and the other one, as he suggested, the Flows, the inbuilt platform. I think you should be able to. It is pretty high level. I mean, if you are a developer or a seasoned admin, you can just take a look at the flows. You can create a flow to automate the following process to flows, visual flows.
The trick there is that 500 follow limit. I'm not sure.
Exactly.
I'm not sure Flow can handle that limit very well.
True. It's true.
Thanks very much for your help.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks, guys. All right, so we got a couple questions in the chat from Karen here. The first one is, what is the best way to show a graph snapshot in a dashboard? Karen, can you elaborate on that?
That's not real clear. That's not real clear. My question is it analytic snapshots the best way to show? What I want to show is if our team has a plan for who they're going to visit in the following week. This is the plan for the week. Okay, I want to be able to show that a week later, what their plan was as opposed to what really happened.
What are you using to build your chart? A task record, event record?
Events.
Events? And do you have a chart in your report that you're using?
Yes, I have a face-to-face, I do my face-to-face meetings this week, next week, last week kind of thing. But what I don't have in there is, okay, this was the plan last week, and then this is what really happened. So it's like an analytic snapshot, but can you put an analytic snapshot in a dashboard? I haven't tried that yet.
So analytic snapshot is a report of historical data. And it's like, are you capturing those events in a report? Are you building a report of all those events?
I haven't done it yet. I'm building a report of what's in real time, but I haven't built a report for the analytic snapshots on activities yet. So I don't know if that's the best way to do it. And I guess it's just my question is that the best way to get historical data frozen in time to show this is what they planned last week?
Yeah, so the thing is, events are always there on calendar, right? Like, unless someone deletes an event, it's always there on calendar. So the first thing I would say is take the deletion permission away. Nobody can delete events if that's important. Because remember, analytic snapshot takes up a lot of data in your database. And if it is just to review what happened last week or what you were supposed to do and whether you did it or not, that can be managed through just the regular Salesforce reporting with filters like show me all the events for last week. Now, as long as they've not deleted it.
Right, against completed. So it's basically here's what was in here's what they planned last week. Here's what was completed is what you're saying. So all of the above, and then what was completed. Right, okay.
Yeah, so that's just a straight activity report that you run saying show me all events for last week, and you can have the status of completed and not completed, and then review why didn't you guys do this, right? So the key is for them not to delete anything. And so like take deletion permission away, and then this way you will have your your data right there, and then you just run a report and say, this is what you were supposed to do last week. What have you done, and why have you not done it? Or what have you not done, and why have you not done it?
That makes better sense. I was thinking too deeply about it.
Simplify.
Yeah. Simplify.
Yeah, and another thing to think of too, like down the line, is is the new it's not like super new, but historical trending reporting that Salesforce has built in. It may be something to look at as well on tracking changes over time. So.
Okay.
All right. And then you had another question. I'll go ahead and get to the. Is there a way in Chatter to create automatic reminders based on criteria? So just to make sure I understand that question, you're wanting to Chatter reminders automatically?
Well, for example, if somebody chatters, it gives somebody an action item, and we use Chatter a lot. And if somebody gives somebody an action item on something, how do they know? I mean, it's unless somebody's written back to them, they don't know. That's up in the air. So is there a way to either run a report or create a reminder that says this still hasn't been completed, or that kind of thing?
So whenever there is an action item to do, even if you're using Chatter, the best way is to create a task record and assign it to someone. And you can have a workflow rule that when a task is created by someone and they're not they're not the person that's assigned to that task, that an email goes out to the person to whom the task is assigned. But you want that to be in the system as a task record that I'm giving you something to do. And then once again, you have an activity report that says, here's a task that have been done, here's that's not been done. It's great to use Chatter, but anytime there needs to be any kind of accountability or follow-up, you want it as a record in the system. If it's just a Chatter post, it's going to get buried in the Chatter feed.
I agree, and I actually just did a video on tasks yesterday for the team to let them know that. Oh.
Can you put yourself on mute, whoever that is? I'm not even so sure if they're hearing us.
I don't think they heard you.
Yeah. Does that help? Like, any time you need any kind of accountability, it needs to go into the system as a record.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I just thought maybe there was. I thought maybe there was some newfangled way coming up, or that Chatter can be, automated or post automated posts. If like for example a date is expired on an opportunity, right now I have a workflow that shoots them an email and says, change the stage or the date of this opportunity when it's expired and it's high probability, that kind of thing. But I was just wondering if Chatter had any other functions coming up like that would automate.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sending an email, you might as well send a task, and then you've got the tracking on it as well.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. A task has to be manually put in, though, doesn't it?
Well, you can create one with your workflow.
But the problem is, you can create with a workflow.
So if somebody has an expired close date on their opportunity, I can create a task automatically. It can create a task for me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the workflow. Remember, there's 4 action items on the workflow rule, right? You can have an email alert, and you can add a task as well.
Okay, I have not used that function yet, and I will.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you
yeah.
can
So the 4 action items. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just saying, you could also check out the time triggers. Something like, it's part of the workflow. It says add a time-dependent workflow action, which says if, the opportunity stage is still not completed or closed, and it's still after the due date or some date that you specified on the opportunity, you can create the task after that date. So it will fire exactly after the date that you mentioned. So it's an extension of the workflow. It's part of that, yeah. You can take a look at that.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. I never even used that function, so thanks.
You're welcome.
Awesome. I was going to say, what I was going to say is that if you wanted to bring chatter into that, I mean, there's things you can do, right, with an action that would chatter or would create a task and chatter that as well, or there's apps out there that will chatter the task when it's created as well. So let's see what time check. We're about we're about 15 minutes out. Who else has questions? Feel free to speak up or post in the chat or raise your hand.
Hey guys, I need to step off. Can I say goodbye?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Anybody have questions? We can end early, and don't feel like you're hogging the line. So if you have other questions and you've already gone, feel free to ask them.
Didn't come packing today, so.
How about since we have a little dead space, I just kind of want to do an impromptu poll for everybody who's here. Would you raise your hand in the web meeting if you're going to Dreamforce? Yes. Come on, people. I know Deepa's going. I know Mark Ross is going. There you are.
Went the last 2 years. Don't get to go this year.
Nice. Okay. All right, so good amount. Awesome. Well, I do want to throw out that there is and let me see if I put this in the chat here for you. There's a Meet the MVPs event that is going to be held on Tuesday of Dreamforce, and I'm just going to post this in the chat. A link to that event. Feel free to register if you'd if you're going to Dreamforce and you want to come and meet the MVPs and you're interested about the MVP program. Feel free to come and say hi. We'd love to chat with you. But it doesn't look like we have any other questions, so I'll go ahead and end it early for today. And I'll be out next time, so you have a special guest host. But thanks for everyone for joining today and the great questions and conversation. And have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, you too.